Mother-in-law is helping my sister-in-law with the kids, but has no place to stay. She is staying in my house with her 2 children that I take care of the food and housing and I have to pay her for her work. The sister-in-law even said I was taking advantage of her. I laughed my ass off that I don't want to take advantage of her, but I want, unexpectedly. They took advantage of my absence and moved in by force. That I was furious and poured cold water over them. Get lost. Not long after, my sister-in-law came to the door in a rage. On New Year's Eve, we went back to our hometown. After the New Year's Eve dinner, we sat in the living room and drank tea. Sister-in-law suddenly spoke up. Mom, why don't you help us pick up and drop off the kids? Mother-in-law was puzzled. Don't you pick up and drop off the kids by yourselves? My sister-in-law explained. Before we opened the store, business was not that busy. After winter, business suddenly picked up. Aaron was so busy with his daily deliveries that he couldn't keep up with all the work. She says that I am all alone in the store, that I don't even have time to eat, she said. And I couldn't get away to pick up the kids. There were times when I was late and they were the only ones left in the school. The teacher was so angry that she criticized me and made me cry. She looked at her big brother. Husband, right? Big brother nodded. Yes, especially in the month approaching the new year. The teacher called every day to urge. Her tone was very impatient. Sister-in-law took over. Yes, so mom must help us. Mother-in-law was a bit hesitant. She works as a nanny in a big city and earns $12,000 a month. If she comes back to take care of her grandchildren, her elder brother and sister-in-law won't give her a salary. Not only would she lose her income, she would also have to subsidize her grandson. But this is between them, and has nothing to do with me. I didn't say anything. My sister-in-law peeled an orange and fed it into her mother-in-law's mouth as she continued to talk. When we pick up the kids late, the teacher is in a hurry to go home and always takes it out on the kids. I don't know how much scolding my children have received. If children are scolded too much, they will become stupid, they'll become timid and weak, and they'll be bullied when they go to middle school and high school. They won't be able to do much in society, they'll be wrong for the rest of their lives. She hugged her mother-in-law's arm and pouted. Mom, please help us, these are your own grandchildren, can you bear to let them be scolded every day? Mother-in-law looked towards the pair of 6-year-old twins grandchildren with some pain on her face. Sister-in-law added, don't worry, Mom, your grandchildren will remember grandma's goodness and will definitely be filial to you in the future. Mother-in-law nodded. Both children are filial, I know that, and you are filial too. Sister-in-law was very good at holding mother-in-law. As long as she has something to ask for, she will do everything she can to please mother-in-law. She would do everything she could to please her mother-in-law, from pampering her, to threatening her, to rolling around in her arms. She will not stop until she gets what she wants. I admire her for these skills, but I can't learn them. I am not used to being too close to mother-in-law. I am not used to being too close to my mother-in-law. I see my sister-in-law feeding mother-in-law oranges, and I feel numb. When I see her hugging mother-in-law's arm and pampering her, I also feel numb. When I see her rolling on the floor, I feel ashamed. But sister-in-law doesn't care. She doesn't care what means she uses as long as she achieves her goal. So as soon as my sister-in-law opened her mouth, I knew mother-in-law couldn't fight. After a moment of silence, she asked, they'll take care of the kids, where will I stay? Sister-in-law frowned. Accommodation is indeed a problem, she said. They are doing business in state capital, renting a storefront. They live and eat in the storefront. It's already crowded for a family of 4 to live together. When my mother-in-law left, there was naturally no place to stay. I had to rent another apartment. My sister-in-law pushed my elder brother with her elbow, signaling him to speak. But my elder brother was silent and high on melon seeds. I secretly wondered, what's so bad about renting a single room? Sister-in-law angrily stomped on big brother, then spoke herself. Mom knows it too. The accommodation in our store is too small. 1 bed for 4 people, so cramped that there's no way to turn over. There's really no place for you to stay. So it's up to mom to figure it out. Mother-in-law was very upset. You want me to rent my own place? I'm so upset. Sister-in-law wants mother-in-law to take care of her child and wants mother-in-law to rent her own apartment. This math is really smart. Sister-in-law shook her head. Where do you think you are going? How could I ask you to rent an apartment? Mother-in-law didn't understand. Then where exactly are you asking me to live? Sister-in-law looked at me. Mom can stay at Lau Air's house. I looked at her incredulously. What do you mean? I was eating their melon, but I didn't expect the melon to roll over to me all of a sudden. Sister-in-law said with a smile on her face. Sister-in-law, don't you have a spare room in your house? Mom can stay at your place. Your house is not far from our store, so it's easy to get to and from. I laughed. An hour away, and you call that not far? If you ride a scooter, of course it's not that far. but my mother-in-law doesn't know how to ride a bike, so she can only walk to pick up the kids. Sister-in-law nodded. Right, you're at the east end of the school and we're at the west end of the school. She said that it takes half an hour to walk from our store to the school. It's also half an hour from your house to the school, she says. That's really an hour, that's a lot of time, not to mention mom's health. What do you think, sis? I smiled coldly. Mom is bringing up your kids. Why are you asking me? My sister-in-law suddenly clapped her hands. I've got an idea. Why don't you just let mom stay at your house with the kids? That way she can save a lot of time every day. She can go to bed earlier at night. She can get up later in the morning. It's good for mom's health, Mom, don't you think? This is a good idea. She leaned her head on mother-in-law's shoulder, one hand wrapped around mother-in-law's arm. With such intimacy, those who didn't know would have thought that it was a real daughter hugging her real mom and pampering her. I looked to mother-in-law. She smiled and nodded. It's fine to live in the oldest two's house. Sister-in-law laughed. Then it's settled. Aren't I smart? Yay. She stretched out her other hand and compared it to a pair of scissors. I felt a rush of blood to my head. Why home? Why should they be the ones to arrange it? Do you think I'm so easy to bully because I'm usually quiet? Nice people get bullied, just like tame horses get ridden. If a tiger doesn't show its might, do you think I'm a sick cat? I said coldly. Are you treating Ethan and I like dead people? Mother-in-law immediately yelled, Sophia, it's New Year's Eve. What are you talking about? I asked. What did I say wrong? You decided to live in my house without even asking. Do you treat us as living people? You're still talking, mother. In-law was shaking with anger. Sister-in-law immediately put her arm around her to calm her down. Mom, don't be in a hurry, don't be angry. Your stomach will be upset again in a while. You can take it easy for a while. I'll talk to my siblings. She looked at me and said, Sophia, have you misunderstood? We are discussing this matter with you. She looked at me and said, Sophia, have you misunderstood? You didn't object, so we thought you'd agree. Actually, Mom living in your house will do you all a lot of good, not a lot of harm. Apart from picking up and dropping off the kids, she'll have a lot of time on her hands. She can help you with the grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning and laundry. She'll do all the housework for you. You and Junior won't have to do anything. It's a great bargain. I laughed. So it's my family that's taking advantage of yours? My sister-in-law laughed heartily. That's right. Originally, I hired Mom to take care of the kids, but she came to help you guys with the housework. Your big brother and I still have to do our own cooking and laundry, so you're not taking advantage of us. I let out a laugh. I don't like taking advantage, so I'll leave that to you guys. Mother-in-law's face turned cold. Sophia, what do you mean? I'm not welcome to stay in your house. I replied, I'm afraid you'll get tired and sick. If she gets tired and sick in my house, won't we still have to be responsible for her? My sister-in-law said, if you feel sorry for making Mom too tired, then you can pay her for her work. I'll pay her for her work. Sister-in-law laughed. Yes, shouldn't you pay Mom's wages after you've taken such a big advantage? After all, doing housework is more tiring than picking up and dropping off the kids. I interrupted her. My family doesn't need a nanny. Since my sister-in-law is so busy, Mom can help you with the kids and housework, so you can pay for it yourself. She said outrageously, but I can't live there. Besides, we can't object to where Mom wants to live. Mom and Dad raised their two sons through hard work. Do they not even have the right to live in their son's home? I said Mom and Dad can live there, but what right does your child have to live in my house? You're so calculating. You hired Mom to take care of your child, but you don't pay for food or housing, and you don't even pay for the child. You even leave your kids at my house. I am not even related to you by blood. So why should I help you raise your child? My sister-in-law burst into tears, as if she had suffered a great injustice. With a sobbing voice, she asked her mother-in-law, Mom, isn't my child from the Chin family? Did I have it with someone else? Then let Aaron do the paternity test with them. If the child is not his own, I will run over it now. She got up and went to hit the wall. Mother-in-law held her. Don't, Mom knows it all. The child is my own grandson. Sister-in-law cried and wailed, since they are all family descendants, why can't my son live in his uncle's house? Mother-in-law said repeatedly, of course he can live there, of course he can live there. She looked at me with a sullen face. Sophia, my son's home, can't I live there? The penis own nephew can't live there. Don't forget, that house of yours, it's bought by Lao Air. Before we got married, I didn't see at all that my sister-in-law was so calculating. The first time we met, she took my hand and chatted with me, praising my husband as a flower, also praising how good father-in-law mother-in-law was. They are the best in-laws under the sky. I won't lie to you, you'll know if you come here a few more times that it was only after we got married that I realized that father-in-law mother-in-law had long been held by her to the death. She wants wind, they give wind, she wanted rain, they gave it to her, they are indeed the best in-laws in the world. But all I saw was father-in-law mother-in-law favoritism. I glanced at the three men. Father-in-law was smiling and watching the TV, big brother was playing cards with twins and yelling at him. My husband Ethan was playing cards on his cell phone, fighting so hard he couldn't hear us arguing. He's always focused when he's playing. Suddenly, I felt very uninspired. Yeah, I live in a house Ethan bought, his parents can come and stay, his nephews can come and stay. I have no right to interfere even if his brother and sister-in-law come to stay. I don't have any right to interfere. I got up. Okay, I'll go rent a house. Mother-in-law said, you don't have to rent me an apartment, I'll live in your house. I said, I'm not renting it for you, I'm renting it for myself. Mother-in-law wondered, what do you mean? You and your penis are moving out. I'm moving out alone. I don't live in your son's house. Mother-in-law raised her voice, why can't you live there? You have 2 bedrooms in your house, so you can live in one and I can live in the other with the kids. Why are you wasting money on renting an apartment? I patiently explained, I am writing at home, and my job requires absolute silence. I can't even concentrate on my writing when you walk and talk loudly, let alone when my 2 children are making a lot of noise. Mother-in-law interrupts me, the children don't stay at home all day. When they go to school, you can catch up on your writing. When they're out of school, you go out and do something. Help with the housework, you can't stay in front of the computer all the time. My sister-in-law said, that's right, computers emit a lot of radiation, which affects pregnancy. You've been married for 2 years and you haven't gotten pregnant. My 2 sons live in your house, so they can help you get a baby. I felt that I was simply talking to a cow. What else is there to say to them? I kicked Ethan in the leg. He yelped, rubbed his leg, and said, what for? I said, divorce. What? He looked confused. I turned around and walked away. Ethan scrambled out and asked, what's wrong, honey? I ignored him and went straight downstairs. We drove back to State Capitol in the night. I told Ethan the situation and asked him what to do. He said, I can't do that. My big brother's 2 sons are like monkeys, jumping all over the house. I asked him, do you want to offend them or should I? He said, I'll do it. He said, I'll do it. As long as I don't agree, those 2 little brats won't come to live in our house. I looked at him, if you can handle it, you can handle it. If you can't, I'll do it. If they want to mess with me anyway, I'll just kick them out. Hubby immediately called mother-in-law, Mom, you can come to my home to stay, but don't bring the children, we can't stand the children's noise. What's wrong with calling uncle? I can't even call dad. He simply hung up the phone. I had no contact with them during the spring festival. After the spring festival, Ethan went to work. I also started writing. In the midst of my busy schedule, I put all the unpleasant things behind me. After some time, Ethan went on a business trip. I also went to a picking activity. When I came back, I only saw the living room in a mess, with cushions thrown all over the place. There were peelings and confetti everywhere, and puddles of water stains. Mother-in-law was on the balcony videoing someone. Both my sons are now in State Capitol. I've come to help them with the kids. Yeah, it's time for me to enjoy myself. I walked into the bedroom and it was even more chaotic. 2 kids jumped out of my closet, one of them taking a pillow and hitting each other, scoring pillowcases, and the clothes in my closet were ripped out and thrown on the floor, stomped all over. Instantly, my anger level peaked. I lifted both kids by the back of their collars and threw them out. Wow, the 2 bears fell to the ground on their backs and howled in shock. The mother-in-law ran out in fear and asked, what's wrong with the grandchildren? What's wrong? I slammed the door, shutting out the children's cries. When mother-in-law saw me and then looked at the mess all over the house, she blamed me and said, oops, it's me who didn't have time to clean up, why are you taking it out on the child? She hurriedly opened the door and went out to calm the bears. With her support, the 2 children climbed up and pointed at me, cursing, you're a bitch, our family doesn't want you. This is my uncle's house, get out. Mother-in-law scolded the children. Don't scold auntie, she's not an aunt, she's a bad woman. My mom said she'll find a good aunt for uncle too. I raised my hand to scare them, get out of here, or I'll spank you. The bears weren't scared at all and spat at me, you're the one who's getting out. This is our house, and you're a hen that doesn't lay eggs. I was so furious that I rushed over and hit him, little bastard. Who taught you to curse? The mother-in-law stopped me. You're a few years old, why do you have to be so mean to a child? Another one scolded me. You can't even give birth to a child. Uncle doesn't want you anymore. Well, give uncle our old age in the future. How can they say such things without being taught by adults? I'm going to beat the dog to show the master today. But mother-in-law held the 2 children in her arms like an old hen protecting her pups. She scolded me loudly. What does a doll of a few years old know? Is it decent for someone your age to hit a child? I turned around and went into the kitchen to get a basin of cool water. Mother-in-law ushered the two kids in and looked down to check that they hadn't fallen and hurt themselves. The two little bastards were still cussing me out in an unproductive manner. I brought out the cool water and splashed it in their faces. The two kids were splashed, shivering from the cold and crying loudly. There was no way to scold me either. The mother-in-law was so angry that she shouted, "Sophia, how can you splash them with cold water on such a cold day? What if they get sick?" I said coldly. "It's better if they die. This kind of mother-born, mother-uneducated dog will be a scourge when they grow up. You." She pointed at me, so angry that her fingers trembled. The two children cried out, "Grandma, it's cold. Grandma, I want to change my clothes." Mother-in-law came into the bedroom in a panic. "Okay, they'll go get some clothes." I took the two children by their collars and threw them out again. "Get out. This is my home. If you come in here again, they'll break your legs." The eldest child cried and scolded me. "You are a bitch." I squatted down, opened the fruit knife in my hand, pinched his mouth and said with a smile, "So much love for cursing, stick out your tongue, they'll cut it off." The bear child was so scared that his mouth was closed tightly and he no longer dared to curse. I glared at the little one again. "Are you still going to curse?" He cried and shook his head. "I won't scold you anymore. Auntie, don't cut my tongue," I warned. "If you dare to curse me again, or say bad things about me, I will." There was a swish. The knife was stuck in the back of my foot. Ah! I screamed miserably. The two children shivered and cried out in terror. Mother-in-law came out with the clothes and said angrily, "Sophia, a child's scolding is enough. Don't be endless." I ignored her, got up and limping into the house. Mother-in-law noticed it, looked at my feet and asked in shock, "Sophia, what happened to your feet?" I huffed a cold breath and said, "Ask your wonderful grandson." Mother-in-law turned her head to yell at the children, "How did you hurt your aunt's foot?" The two children, still in shock, just cried, and no one answered her. I went inside, slammed the door, sat down on the sofa, and bent down to pull out the knife. Naturally, the knife was not stuck in the back of my foot. Instead, it was wedged between two fingers. I can't hit a bear child like this, or I'll be breaking the law. Ink sister-in-law calls the police and am detained for a few days. I'll lose a lot of money. It's not like scolding is effective. They have long been spoiled by sister-in-law to the point of lawlessness. I can only intimidate. In the eyes of these two children, I have always been good-tempered. They've never seen me angry. Today I suddenly became fierce, cutting out their tongues and stabbing myself in the back of the foot with a knife. A 6-year-old child is bound to be terrified. It is natural for children to be naughty, but to mess up my home and talk dirty. I am not a saintly mother. How can I tolerate it? Looking at the mess on the floor, I was annoyed. It seems that I overestimated the self-awareness of mother-in-law. Ethan's house is in the downtown area. It's a second-hand house, old apartment complex. The door has a regular lock and he used to give mother-in-law a key. So she was able to get in. I thought, after her son warned her, she wouldn't bring her two kids over for a long stay. I didn't realize she didn't take Ethan's words seriously. Since she is so unconscious, she won't be able to come and go as she pleases in the future. I threw out both kids' school bags, clothes, toys, and mother-in-law's clothes. Mother-in-law yelled, "Sophia, what are you doing? This is my son's house, and my grandchildren and I have the right to live here." I said coldly, "Your son married me, so I am the master of his house. Stay where you are." I slammed the door heavily. After half a day's work, I was able to tidy up the room. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. My sister-in-law was screaming outside, "Sophia, open the door. Who are you to bully my son? Aren't you just jealous of me because you can't have a son? If you are capable of giving birth to a couple of twins, why don't you show me? You're incapable yourself, taking it out on my son. What a thing. She's used to running the family." The father-in-law, mother-in-law, and the elder brother are all obedient to her. My husband seldom comes home since he went to college and he occasionally goes home and treats her with respect. In the 2 years I've been married, I haven't had any conflicts with her. This one was kind of touching her tiger's ass. She probably wanted to establish her authority in front of me as well. I am not bad at writing, but am not good at cursing, mainly because I can't swear that badly. I just ignore her. My mother-in-law also shouted at me outside to open the door, saying that if there is any conflict, sister-in-law should talk about it. What the hell? I don't want to talk to them at all. I don't want to talk to them, so I don't listen to them. This old apartment complex is still self-built, no elevator, only 6 floors. She's banging and shouting outside the door, but no one comes to watch. But she disturbed the resident on the opposite side of the building. It was a guy with tattoos all over his body. He opened the window, stretched out his head and cursed, "Damn it, if that bitch barks again, I'll chop you two." Death. Immediately there was no movement outside the door that I was amused. Finally, I could write in peace and quiet. A few days later Ethan came back that he was followed by a group of people. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, big brother and sister-in-law and twins. When my sister-in-law saw me, it was like she had seen her enemy. She rushed over and hit me. I backhanded her in the face. There was a loud snap. Everyone froze. They probably didn't expect that I, a weak woman, would dare to hit my shrew-like sister-in-law. She was furious and screamed, "Surname Sue, how dare you hit me?" She lunged at me again. I slapped again. She stumbled backward on her heels and fell, and her man rushed to hold her up. She let out a loud cry, "Dad, Mom, penis, look at Sophia. She even beat me." My son doesn't know how hard she beat him. For the past few days, they have nightmares all night long, my poor son. Mother-in-law was busy calming her sister-in-law. Father-in-law pointed at me and scolded, "Before you married into my Chin family, I saw you as gentle. I didn't expect that. It's only been 2 years. You've shown your original form." I laughed. "Before I got married, you all looked like dogs and men, smiling and welcoming me, but it was only after 2 years of marriage that I realized your hypocritical and disgusting faces. You." The father-in-law was so angry that he couldn't speak. That he turned to my husband and asked, "Lao Er, tell me yourself how to deal with this." I said, "It's my business. What's it got to do with him?" As I said before, if he can handle it, he can handle it. If he can't, he'll handle it. Kicking out mother-in-law and twins was my doing alone. I play better when Ethan stays out of it. He picked up on my hint and was silent. Father-in-law said angrily, "You've got a point. This is my son's house. What gives you the right to take it over?" I said, "By virtue of the fact that he is my husband, by virtue of the fact that I have a marriage license with him. His house is my house. If you don't like it, go to court. Now, I am the mistress of this house, so get out of here." Father-in-law, mother-in-law's hands shook with anger. The father-in-law yelled, "Second, divorce this woman at once." My husband asked, "Why?" My husband asked, "Why?" The father-in-law scolded, "Why do you ask? Don't you have eyes? Can't you see how she bullies us? She's kicking your parents and brother and sister-in-law out of the house, and you're still indifferent." My sister-in-law also added fuel to the fire. "You brothers used to be so united. Every time you came home, I cooked a few dishes. The two of you drank with Dad and chatted with mom. It was a happy time. And the 2 years since you married Sophia, you've hardly been home. Wasn't it all because she encouraged it? Sophia's not in the same league as us. Maybe she's got someone else and she's trying to take over the house. That's why she's bad-mouthing us in front of you, so that you'll distance yourself from us, cut us off. When you're all deserted, she'll feel free to harm you. Then you'll be in deep shit. Who can save you? By the time we find out, you'll be in a little box. My poor brother, you can't die in peace. Boo-hoo. I clapped my hands and laughed. Sister-in-law is a master of her craft. She's so good at acting. From this performance alone, you spoke with great emotion, whimpering and tears. Your concern for my husband is all over the place. But I wonder how my big brother feels when he sees you being so affectionate with my man. Male and female feelings are exclusive, even blood brothers will be jealous. Sister-in-law wiped her tears away. Look, she's starting to stir up the feelings of your own brothers again. She is just trying to isolate the oldest two, trying to strip the oldest two from our big family. Right, didn't Mom see Sophia bring a man home the other day? He's taller and more handsome than Lao Er. He seems to be Sophia's boyhood friend. She elbowed mother-in-law and winked, signaling mother-in-law to testify for her. Mother-in-law was not a very good liar, but she was reluctant to offend her eldest daughter-in-law. Her face turned red, and after a long time of puffing and puffing, she stammered, "I can't remember, maybe, it's an upstairs neighbor." The sister-in-law was very upset and suddenly added, "There's one more thing I didn't want to say. But Sophia's mouth is so hard, forcing me not to say it, the day she beat up my son and kicked Mom out. Mom and I came back to ask her for an explanation. Mostly, I wanted her to apologize to Mom. This is the second son's house. How can she as a daughter-in-law kick out her mother-in-law? But she wouldn't open the door even though I knocked on it for a long time. He said that I was so angry that I scolded her a few times. He said, suddenly a man's voice came out of the house. He yelled at me, saying that if I ever cursed Sophia again, had cut me up. I was terrified that the man would go crazy and come out to kill my mom and my son. I said that so I rushed away with them in my arms. I think this man is the one Mom saw that day. I hooked my lips. Are you done? Sister-in-law looked at Ethan. What I said is true. If you don't believe me, ask Mom. You can also ask my 2 sons. Kids don't lie. Mother-in-law spoke up at this time. There was a man who scolded your sister-in-law and said he wanted to chop us to death. The 2 children also said That uncle is so fierce, I am so scared. As they spoke, they looked around, the father-in-law pointed at me and cursed, "You slut, how dare you take advantage of my son's business trip to bring a wild man home to fool around? Why are you so shameless? You must divorce her. The Chin family can't afford to lose face." My husband said nonchalantly, "My house is equipped with a surveillance camera. The so-called man you are talking about doesn't exist. I saw how you bullied my wife." Surveillance? The group of people looked at each other in disbelief. Sister-in-law immediately yelled again, "Since there is a surveillance camera, then release it and let me see how Sophia beat my son. You guys can watch it if you want." My husband used his cell phone to cast the screen onto the TV. The day after I went out to pick up the scenery, mother-in-law brought twins to my house. When they entered the house, they made all sorts of messes. The two little ones threw cushions on the floor and jumped on them while shouting, "Stomp on Sophia, that bad woman. Sophia won't let us stay, so we'll throw her out. Well, throw her clothes away." They both ran into the bedroom and dragged my clothes out and threw them on the floor and stomped on them. Mother-in-law hurriedly picked them up and said, "My little grandparents, you've soiled your aunt's clothes, but doesn't Grandma wash them too?" One of the children said, "Grandma don't wash it, they'll throw it in for her." They snatched the clothes and carried them back to the bedroom. Shortly after, they took my password jewelry box out and tried to open it, but could not. One of the children went into the kitchen and brought a machete. The mother-in-law was so scared that she followed them out, snatched the machete back to the kitchen, and put the jewelry box back to the bedroom. They also drew on the wall with watercolors, drawing a woman with teeth and claws, and then spit on Sophia, saying they would drown her. They even openly peed in the living room, I said. They both took all the cash we kept in the nightstand drawer and searched it clean of coins. All the change kept in the nightstand was under $10, which should add up to a few dozen dollars. It's a good thing we don't have a lot of cash in the house because of the convenience of cell phone payments nowadays. My husband looked at his big brother. What does big brother have to say? His big brother's face was ugly and he said, "Sibling, I'm sorry." His wife stepped on the back of his foot. He grimaced in pain. I hooked my lips. He has a little sense of right and wrong, but he is afraid of his wife. Sister-in-law said uncaringly, "Isn't it normal for children to play around, too? Didn't you and your big brother play around when you were little? Didn't they swear? Boys are naturally naughty, but that's no reason for Sophia to beat my son, is it? Even if my son did something wrong and made her mad, she should have told your brother and me. We're the parents. She's not qualified to educate my child for me as an aunt." I said, "You claimed that I hit your son, but where is the proof?" She bit back, "Don't you have surveillance cameras? Why didn't you capture any footage of you hitting my son? Did you delete it?" My husband said coldly, "The video hasn't finished yet, take your time to watch it." The two kids were destroying the house every day, and the mother-in-law was complaining while cleaning it up. Finally, the day I came back, seeing me grabbing the two little kids by their collars and bringing them out, my sister-in-law shouted at him, "Why God, you're lifting them up like that? You want to strangle them to death, don't you?" I sneered back, "Dead? They're still alive, aren't they?" The image of me pouring cold water on my children. She jumped up. "Look, how cruel is she? She tried to drown my son." I sneered, "If I wanted to drown these two little things, I should have pressed them right into the water basin instead of splashing them. But you gave them a cold," I said. "I could have splashed you cold too. Want to try? You?" She was so angry she couldn't speak. When I threw the two kids out again later and threatened them with a knife, I had my back to the living room. There was no surveillance outside the door. So all they could see was my back. I bent down and pinched the kid's mouth and threatened to cut out his tongue, which they couldn't see. My voice wasn't loud enough to be heard by the surveillance in the house. All they knew was that the kids' cursing was suddenly gone. Then there was me screaming and both kids crying. Mother-in-law came out and limping in with a knife in the back of my foot. I sat down on the couch and the surveillance couldn't get a picture of my foot, only of me bending over and pulling out the knife. My old publicist turned off the phone and said, "What else does your sister-in-law have to say?" She said, "You can't make it clear that it was my son who hurt her, can you? If you don't believe me, I'll ask." She looked at her two children and said, "Debeo and Xiaobao, look at your mom's eyes and say that you haven't hurt your aunt with a knife, right?" I laughed. "Your hint is too obvious," shaking your head and winking your eyes. "Do you think we are all blind? They naturally listen to you. Wasn't Mom there that day? Ask Mom and you'll know." Mother-in-law's face reddened again, not being good at lying and not daring to offend her eldest daughter-in-law. It was really hard for her. She glanced at her sister-in-law, lowered her head and said, "I didn't pay attention to When DeBeo got the knife, and I said they did the other day. Sister-in-law's eyes looked at her like they were hardened with poison. She suddenly added, what about the surveillance in the back? That man cursed you. Asked my husband cast the screen again and jumped straight to where she slammed the door and cursed me. I was alone in the living room, staring at the door. She was out there tapping and cursing again, her voice audible. Then there was a thunderous roar. Damn it, if that bitch barks again, they'll cut you to death. Anyone can hear that the sound came from the opposite building. My husband let out a laugh and said, Big brother, heal your sister-in-law's ears. Aaron looked ashamed. It's all a misunderstanding. Second brother, sister-in-law, I'll treat you to a meal as an apology. Father-in-law also said, I didn't hear you clearly, that's why it's a misunderstanding. Let's talk it over, let's go and have dinner. Your big brother sincerely invites you. I laughed coldly. Misunderstanding, just want to write off all this. Ethan pulled me, honey, go inside and change. He pulled me into the bedroom and whispered, they have something to ask. Don't you want to go and see what's going on? Of course I do. The group went into the hotel. Only the eldest brother gave us a toast and made amends. The rest of us were steady as a rock. I didn't move either. When we were almost done eating, Big brother said sullenly, the landlord has repossessed that store of ours. Ethan asked, why? I don't know why. He said he wanted to do it himself. But I think he sublet it to someone else. Lao aren't you friends with the landlord? You help me ask what's going on. Ethan said, I'm not friends with the landlord. Sister-in-law shouted, didn't you say you were friends with him when you first introduced this business to us? Why aren't we friends now? I see, did you call him and ask him to take the store back? Lao have a conscience, will you? We didn't offend you. Ethan let out a laugh, you guys offended my wife, and you still say you didn't offend me. Your wife bullied my son. When did we offend her? Ethan said, did I tell mom not to bring the kids to live with my family? Sister-in-law immediately threw the blame on mother-in-law. It's mom's own fault for wanting to bring the kids. She doesn't like the hassle of traveling from your house to mine, so you can't blame us for that, can you? I looked at mother-in-law. She blushes like she's drunk, but doesn't say anything. I don't speak either. I really don't have much to say to this kind of confused old my sister-in-law said, besides, it's hard to write two Chin characters with one stroke. My son is from the same ancestor as you, they call you uncle so affectionately. Your nephew just comes to your house after school for a nap, so how can he not be allowed to do so? She always has a knack for making light of things that are not in her favor. The things that are in her favor are exaggerated as if the sky is falling. Big brother gave her a hand, don't say too much. Let me talk to Lao Sister-in-law rolled her eyes. Okay, I don't care, you talk to yourself, Big brother said. Lao you know your sister-in-law is straight talking and loves her children. She was trying to protect the child, and that's why she was impulsive to her younger siblings. He said that I didn't expect you to get angry and make your friend take back the store. For the sake of your elder brother, please forgive her this time and leave the store to us. We can't live in the city without the store. What about our two children's schooling? I said, go back to your hometown. It's not like you can't live there, and your kids can go to school there. My sister-in-law stood up violently and pointed at me, cursing. She pointed at me and cursed. Why do you want to drive us back to our hometown? Does this state capital belong to your family? Is the principal a relative of yours? If you say you won't let my sons go to school in the city, they have to go back to the countryside. Who do you think you are? You're the only one who had a chance to marry into the Chin family because the second son was interested in you. Otherwise, you'd still be living on the streets as a beggar. Despite my brother's efforts to stop her, I couldn't stop her, and she finished scolding in one breath. I said, I'm not a scallion, but you're not even a scallion. You rely on your mouth to cheat, roll around, and make your in-laws run around in circles around you. Sister-in-law immediately looked at her in-laws. Dad, Mom, listen to her. She said that I used you two as donkeys. Am I that vicious? Father-in-law slapped the table. Second daughter-in-law, don't you dare to sow discord between us and your elder brother and sister-in-law. Your sister-in-law is capable, smart, and filial, unlike you. I let out a laugh and interrupted him. Why am I not filial to you? Because old people like you, who are biased to no end, don't deserve my heart and soul. To you, mother-in-law got angry. How are we biased? We call you all back to have dinner with us during New Year's and festivals. Which do you see us being biased? I looked at her. When they picked up the store, they said they had no money. You asked me to lend them the dowry and the bride price. Ethan gave me the 100,000 for the dowry. You didn't pay a dime. My mom and dad, who are interested in his character, gave me 200,000 bride price so that we could build our own little family. You've been staring at my $300,000 all day long, trying to get it into your hands. Your eldest son took over the store, and you asked me to borrow it. I refused. Then they said they wanted to buy a house in the city and didn't have the money for a down payment. You asked me for another loan. You're a mother-in-law who always tries to put your second daughter-in-law's money in your first daughter-in-law's purse, and you say you're not biased. Mother-in-law said, they are under great pressure to bring up 2 children. You don't have any children, so why don't you help your elder brother and sister-in-law? I rolled my eyes. Why should I help those 2 wretches? They deserve to die in poverty. My sister-in-law was furious. What wolves? Did you lend us any money? You haven't done us any favors, so why are we wolves? My husband spoke up. Sophia helped you find the store. The landlord is Sophia Sr. You didn't have the money to take over the store, so Sophia asked her senior to hold off for half a year, so that she could pay you back when you've made some money. Although she didn't lend you the dowry and the bride price, she's been doing you a favor. Now you're saying you haven't been favored by her. Several people froze and looked at me with shocked faces. That I let out a laugh and said, you came to my house, picking on me and making yellow rumors about me, so you want to piss me off and beg my husband a loan, right? It's a pity that you guys didn't realize that I was the one who gave you the opportunity to make money, and I was the one who made you lose that opportunity. Sister-in-law jumped up. Did you ask the landlord to repossess the store? I nodded my head. Yes, you didn't pay any money, so it was reasonable and legal for them to take it back. Half a year ago, my elder brother and his wife suddenly came to state capital and asked my husband to find them a job. However, my elder brother did not go to university and could not endure hard work, and he even felt tired of delivering food that my husband couldn't find him a suitable job. They are also funny. They have been living in our home and don't seem to leave until we find them a job. Father-in-law mother-in-law also calls my husband every day and asks him to make sure he helps his brother and sister-in-law. That I just happened to see the senior posted a friend's circle, said his family has a store to rent. Takeover can directly do, but need to pay 2 years of rent at a time. A total of 450,000 yuan, state capital storefront, location and good. The rent is naturally not cheap. After I told my husband, he said it was not bad, so I told both of them. They were so excited that they immediately pestered me to go and have a look. That I didn't have time and asked my husband to take them there. That I told my husband not to say that I introduced them. I didn't want them to come to me for anything in the future. They went there and bargained with the schoolmaster for only $300,000. After I called the schoolmaster, he gave me a face-saving discount of $50,000 and only wanted $400,000 from them. But the senior reminded me, Sophia, this relative of yours is too refined, especially that woman. She's using beauty tricks to get me to pay less. She keeps rubbing her breasts on my arm. It's disgusting. You'd better minimize your dealings with them, especially in financial matters. Try not to get involved. You and your wife are both too honest. I'm afraid you can't beat them. I thanked my senior for the reminder and said, no matter what, I won't give them a penny, so they won't be able to count me out. My senior laughed and said, yes, you must keep your money bag well covered. As expected, the 2 of them came back with a sad face, saying that the store was good, that is, they wanted 400,000 yuan of rent, and they didn't have any money. I didn't say anything. They said they would go home and ask their in-laws to find a way. Then mother-in-law came to me and asked me to lend them the dowry and bride price, saying that she would lend another 100,000 to her brother and sister-in-law to make up the $400,000. She also told me not to tell my husband and to borrow quietly in private. I think she really took me for an idiot and refused at that time. I turned around and told my senior about it. He said, these 2 want to make money, but do not want to pay a penny. You openly offend them is not good, so I do not let them pay 2 years at a time, this half a year to pay monthly. They look at the money, always willing to pay the rent, right? If after half a year, they still refuse to pay $400,000, then I will take it back. Then there is no more of your business. I was quite embarrassed and invited senior for a meal. The 2 of them thought that the senior was my husband's friend and didn't give a damn about the $400,000 of rent. For $20,000 of rent every month, they had to be reminded 3 times and 4 times, once pressed. My sister-in-law complained that business was not good and the money she earned was only enough to cover the capital. The senior was speechless and spat to me. I've been running the store for more than 10 years. Don't I know the daily sales? After the Chinese New Year, the 6-month deadline was approaching. It so happened that mother-in-law brought her 2 children to my home, and the children's tirade against me made me realize that my sister-in-law, who was sweet-mouthed on the surface, didn't know how much she had scolded me behind my back. Otherwise, a 6-year-old would not have called out my name and cursed those profanities. After I kicked them out, I called my senior and asked if he had taken the store back yet. He said it was due in a few days. I said, take it back when it expires, don't rent it to them. Okay, the store was repossessed yesterday and they came to me today. but not with the attitude of begging, but with the intention of breaking us up as a couple. Sister-in-law suddenly came to me. Knelt down and kowtowed. Good sister, I was wrong, I'm sorry, you are generous, help us again, without the store, we have no way to live, please, please, please. Oh, so early to start performing kowtow and beg for mercy, but if I had known it would come to this, why would I have done it in the first place? I said, don't beg me, I'm not the landlord, he can rent to whoever he wants, I have no right to intervene. She continued to kowtow, you have a way, I know you do, good sister, please help us. I didn't bother to pay any attention to her and got up and said to my husband, I'll go back first. Sister-in-law suddenly stood up, you don't forgive me, do you? Then how about I die? If I die, you can let go of your hatred for me, help your big brother get the store back and help me take care of my 2 children. Good sister, goodbye forever. She ran towards the window. Mother-in-law shouted in panic, pull her back. I said, no need to pull her. She jumped off the building by herself. We are all blameless, it's a good thing she's dead. In less than 3 months, big brother will be married to someone else, and the twins will be living happily ever after in front of their stepmother. In-laws won't have 1 less daughter-in-law and maybe 2 more grandchildren. I said this in a positive way, and heard big brother and my in-laws rejoice. Sister-in-law froze, turned around and pounced on her man. I'm not dead yet, you want to marry another vixen, you heartless. I gave my husband a wave of my head. We left in silence. A few days later, it was the weekend. My husband and I were still sleeping when the door was slapped. My husband got up to answer the door and I heard mother-in-law's voice, Junior, you have to help your big brother, they just can't make it in town anymore. My husband asked, why do I have to help? I owe them. Sister-in-law's voice also sounded, you're brothers, you're related by blood, shouldn't brothers help each other? Hubby laughed lowly. Help each other out, may I ask what you have done for me? Sister-in-law said, I cook for you every time you come back. Hubby laughed, that's because I go to work. Hubby laughed, that's because I've gone to work and earned money, so I buy you gifts every time I come back. Sister-in-law still remembers that when I was in school, I couldn't even drink your water when I came back. Sister-in-law defended, wasn't that because I was busy? I was so busy that I didn't even have time to boil water. Father-in-law scolded, Lao air, we are now talking about helping your elder brother, why are you still focusing on what happened in the past? Mother-in-law also said, the second, you do not learn your daughter-in-law careful eyes, do not speak brother sister-in-law face, we raised you so big, there is always grace, right? You do not help your big brother, is ungrateful. At this time I also came out, leaning on the door to watch them. My husband looked at my in-laws and said, am I ungrateful? I'd like to ask you, mom and dad, if you've given him more or me more, why is he called Aaron? Because he was born at the right time, you wanted a son, and he came, why am I called Ethan? Because I was born by accident. My nickname is Accident. When I was registered in the family register, you named me Accident too. The staff said it didn't sound good, so they gave me the name Ethan. You said it yourself, you can't deny it, can you? It dawned on me that his name had such an origin. My husband went on to say, although I was small at that time, I understood that I, the product of an accident, was not treated well by you guys. You took good care of my elder brother, but you gave me a free hand. You bought him the best clothes. I've always worn his old clothes. I went to school with an old bag that he didn't want. The year I got into college, my older brother got married. He said that my sister-in-law's mother's family asked for $200,000, and you gave it to them without blinking an eye. Then they told me they couldn't afford to send me to school and told me to stop. I insisted, so dad told me to apply for a student loan. I said I'd pay it back myself and that you wouldn't help me out. Because dad was the captain, he gave me a certificate of indigence that I was able to take out a loan to finish college. And when I was a sophomore, my older brother wanted to build a house, so you helped him with your savings. When I graduated from college and was busy earning money to pay off my loans, my big brother had to buy a house in town. You gave him another $200,000. Dad's been embezzling a lot as a captain, hasn't he? Otherwise, as a captain in the countryside, where did you get so much money? Father-in-law's face reddened and he shouted angrily, bullshit, where did I embezzle? My husband ignored him and went on. Dad has a house in his name. My brother and sister-in-law have 2 houses in their names. I am the only one who has nothing, every time I go back home. It's like I'm a parasite. If I don't buy presents or give money to mom and dad, you don't even call me for dinner. That's how much you love me. I've paid off my student loans and saved up a little money to buy a house, because I'm so eager to have a nest egg of my own. But I didn't have enough money. I borrowed from my parents and my brother. But I didn't have enough money, so I borrowed from my parents and my older brother. But I couldn't get a single penny. I could only buy an old 2-bedroom house when I saw the Prices of houses continue to rise. With this apartment, I married Sophia. The good thing is, she doesn't mind me. His eyes were red and wet that I walked over to him and hugged him around the waist that I am the only daughter in my family and have never experienced what it is like to have eccentric parents, because my parents gave me all the favor. They bought me a house and a car early on. It's just that Ethan's house is close to where he works, so I live here with him too. Now when I hear my husband talk about these things, I feel deeply disgusted with my biased parents, the father-in-law said in a loud voice. You always say we are biased. Did I not feed you or clothe you? How come you didn't starve to death because of my favoritism? You took out a loan to study in college. But we didn't pay for you to go to high school. My husband laughed with tears in his eyes that I can study thanks to the country. It was the state's compulsory education that allowed me to finish elementary and middle school. I excelled in the midterm exams and was admitted to the best private high school, which waived my tuition fees and gave me living expenses. The school waived my tuition and gave me living expenses, he said. During the summer and winter vacations, I saved up the money for my trip back by selling the junk I usually picked up. My classmates all know that, so they keep the bottles of water for me every time they drink. You don't know about this, do you? Because all your attention is on Big Brother, the mother-in-law heard with tears in her eyes. Why don't you ask me for money? Hubby replied, I have to get by. At the beginning of my freshman year of high school, I asked my mom for $20 for bus fare. Mom said she didn't have any money and told me to go to my dad. When I asked my dad for the money, he took $10 and threw it on the ground, saying, get lost, you debt collector. I picked up the $10 and walked for a long time, he said. I picked up the $10 and walked for a long time, until I couldn't walk any further and made sure the $10 would get me to school. Father-in-law immediately retorted, bullshit. When did I throw the money on the ground? Hubby laughed bitterly. Then how many times have you given me money in my 3 years of high school? Father-in-law said, I didn't take it, your mom gave it to you too. Hubby turned to mother-in-law. How many times did mom give me money? Mother-in-law was silent. Hubby then said, often. You may have forgotten that you have a younger son, because you only have eyes for your older son. It's because you only have eyes for your eldest son that he was not good at studying and did not get into college, so you let him learn a trade. He was afraid of hard work and couldn't learn, so you let him get married and gave him a job. So you let him get married and buy him a house. The house in town has 3 storefronts, and they rent it out to other people for a monthly rent. You say hell never have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of his life. It was only when I bought a house in state capital and got married that you noticed that this second son was not a loser, he said. But you didn't try to make it up to me, but you didn't want to make it up to me. Instead, you rushed my brother and sister-in-law to my house and forced me to find them jobs. Mom, Dad, I call you Mom and Dad, just like Big Brother. Why am I so unpopular in your hearts? Like a wild child without blood ties, you only think of me when you need me, and you think of me only to use me, and if I refuse, you call me an ungrateful wretch. Father-in-law got more and more furious. I gave birth to you and raised you, you owe me for your whole life. How dare you settle accounts with me? Hubby said indifferently, I admit I owe you, but I don't owe your eldest son, so don't come to me for anything he does in the future. Mother-in-law immediately said, no way, if you don't help your elder brother, they can only go back to their hometown, then go back, with you guys helping him and loving him, hell have a good life. Mother-in-law started to play the emotion card again. Lao air, we do love you when you were a child, I was also a handful of shits and urine to raise you up, otherwise how could you grow so tall? I couldn't hold back my laughter. Mother-in-law immediately blackened her face. What are you laughing at? I said, take a look at your 2 sons, the oldest is tall and strong, with a tiger's back and waist, fat as a leather ball. What kind of thinness has the second one become? The 2 brothers have very similar facial features, both look like father-in-law, but their bodies are very different. At a glance, I can tell that the oldest was raised in a fine way, not lacking in food and clothing, but excessively obese. When I first met my husband, he was very thin. After raising him for a few years, he is now a standard size and handsome instead. My sister-in-law said, so what if he is thin? Aren't you still married to him? I raised my eyebrows. I didn't marry him because he's fat or thin, I married him because he has a good heart and is hardworking and down-to-earth. Some people are tall, but cannot do anything, afraid of the first wife. And what is the difference between the waist? She was furious. Who are you calling a loser? Whoever admits it is a loser. You, my husband interrupted her. I've never felt any real love in your family. All I've ever felt is use and hurt. Now I realize that the person who loves me the most in this world is my wife. Besides her mom and dad, they're the ones who slowly melted my cold heart. They also showed me that I have my own light and heat, and that I'm not a piece of trash that no one loves, and I don't need that pathetic little bit of affection from blood relations. His older brother sneered. Ethan, you're saying all this to show that you lack love, so you hate us. Then why don't you cut ties with us and cater to us at every turn? Should I say that you're just a cheap bastard? I replied ahead of my husband. On the contrary, it's not my husband who is cheap, it's you guys. And my husband didn't break off the relationship with you because he is a good person. He wants me to see that he is not an orphan, that he has a family, that he has parents and a brother and sister-in-law. Unfortunately, his kindness has not been rewarded by your kindness, he said. Instead, you've gone from strength to strength, bullying him. You even tried to bully me. He can stand it when you bully him. But he can't stand it when you try to bully me. I am the same. If you guys bully me, I can ignore you, but if you bully my man, I won't tolerate it. It's okay if you don't love him, it's enough that I love him. I pointed to the door. What's done is done, now, please leave my house. My husband took over. In the future, no contact unless necessary. Father-in-law turned around angrily. Just leave, well, pretend we never had this dog. Sister-in-law said, but what about our store? Her man pulled her. Let's go, people have cut off relations with us. What are you still talking about? A few people went out. Peace returned to our little home, but not for long. A few photos of me suddenly broke out on the internet, saying that I had cheated on my husband while he was away on a business trip and had seduced several men. These photos are not very clear. The post is written on my name, but I know that some of the men in the same frame as me are couriers who pick up deliveries. Some are delivery men. The poster used AI function to change the clothes of the courier and the delivery man. My husband accompanied me to the police and pointed out that he suspected that my sister-in-law was the one who started the yellow rumor about me. The police quickly found out that it was indeed her. She explained that because she hated me for making it impossible for them to open their store, she made rumors and posted them to take revenge on me. She also calculated that my husband would divorce me as long as my reputation was stigmatized. Then my husband would go back to their Chin family and be at their mercy. The police detained her and also asked her to delete the video and publicly apologize online and put it on top for a month. After getting out of the detention center, the family honestly went back to the countryside. The child also transferred back to the countryside to go to school. I thought it was quiet now, but a few months later, mother-in-law came to my door again. She waited at the door, and when my husband left work, she followed him in. Then she cried loudly and said she wanted a divorce. We were both confused. What kind of drama is she playing? After mother-in-law told me, I realized that their conflict was caused by their eldest daughter-in-law. Aaron and his wife had been doing business in the city and were very happy with the money they earned every day. When they returned to their hometown, they had no income and were not as hardworking as they used to be. The sister-in-law scolded the man every day for not being productive. The elder brother had no choice but to go out to work, but he was afraid of hard work and tiredness, and the money he earned was not much, and he had to play games and cards every day, so he had no money for his daughter-in-law's family. Seeing that the two of them fight over money every day, mother-in-law had to go to the big city to work as a nanny to earn money, and as soon as the money arrives every month, she transfers it to father-in-law so that he can arrange for the family. A few days ago, the employer's family went out for a trip, and she came back to visit, but she bumped into her sister-in-law and father-in-law in the bedroom, hugging each other. When she saw mother-in-law come in, she immediately pushed father-in-law away and slapped father-in-law on the face, crying that father-in-law had seduced her. Father-in-law, on the other hand, cried out, saying that his sister-in-law wanted to touch the cell phone in his trouser bag to transfer money to her cell phone, and when he was unwilling to do so, his sister-in-law held him and forcibly pulled out the cell phone in his trouser bag. They argued endlessly. The mother-in-law couldn't figure out if the two of them were having an affair and called her eldest son back. The elder brother felt that he had worked so hard to earn money outside, but his sister-in-law also gave him a cuckold. Suppressed for a long time, the emotions broke out indiscriminately and beat up his wife. The sister-in-law was so beaten that she went back to her mother's home. The mother's family came back to beat up the elder brother. Then they got even, and the two of them continued to live together without getting a divorce. But the story spread in the village and there were rumors everywhere. Mother-in-law said that when she went out, she felt that people were poking her in the back and she didn't know what they were saying. She couldn't take it anymore and wanted to divorce father-in-law, but father-in-law refused to divorce her. She then came to us and asked how to make father-in-law agree to divorce and asked us to help her make a decision. My husband and I looked at each other and shook our heads. My husband said, I am not involved in your family affairs, you make up your own mind. The mother-in-law cried and went home. Later, she called to say that her eldest daughter-in-law regarded her as a thorn in her side and scolded her whenever she saw her. The eldest son also hated father-in-law like a dog. The youngest two just kicked them out. Mother-in-law said that her sister-in-law had cheated father-in-law out of all his money, and now they had nothing. Father-in-law works odd jobs to earn a meager living. She collects junk and cooks for the old man. There's no mention of divorce. She cries, "Tell me, why did your brother do this to me? I used to love him so much. I've loved him since he was born. I held him in my mouth for fear of melting, in my hands for fear of dropping him. I gave him whatever he wanted. I look at my husband, and there's no expression on his face." The mother-in-law's voice continues, "The clothes he wears are the best in our village. The car he bought is also the best in the village. He had a crush on your sister-in-law and had to marry her. I paid a high price to marry her back. What have I done to him? But now he's kicking us out. What have we done wrong?" "Oh." Hubby was silent for a while and said faintly, "When you said those words, you poked another knife in my bleeding heart and sprinkled a handful of salt." The crying over there came to an abrupt end. Mother-in-law's voice was a bit panicked. "No, I am not trying to hurt you, just can't figure out, why are they doing this to us? I didn't treat your sister-in-law too badly." My husband said, "I can't figure it out either. Why are you doing this to me?" Mother-in-law could not speak any more. My husband hung up the phone. After that, he was silent for a few days. I didn't know what his plans were, and I didn't ask. They were his real parents, and he had an obligation to support them. Although I don't want to support them, I have no right to oppose them. Whatever he did, I understood. Later, I heard some rumors from my hometown. Although the elder brother and his wife are not divorced, their relationship has cracked and is no longer as sweet as it used to be. The older brother drank heavily all day long and beat his wife when he was drunk. His sister-in-law was no weakling either. When they fought, they were bound to have a bloodbath. The twins would cry out in fear at first, but later they became indifferent. Parents beat their parents. Children play with themselves. I only listen to the gossip about their family. I don't pay much attention. What I want to do is to run our little family. I also want to protect my husband, so that he will not be affected by some messy people and things. I want to take him away from negative energy and live my life with him in peace and quiet.